and relationship care. My focus generally is helping you to deepen your relationship with yourself and those you care about the most. Today's topic kind of comes from a video that I've seen from the Pivot podcast. It's a podcast with three brothers who played in the NFL. Big fan of their work. They do some great stuff, great topics, great discussion. And every once in a while, they say something that sparks my mind. And a recent video that they talked about, a conversation that they hate having with their family around finances, really got my wheels turning. And a major part of my practice is acknowledging the social dynamic that we as Black people within our communities deal with, and how it's important to recognize that there is a social, political, economic, educational, environmental experience that impacts us on a daily basis. And as a result, it impacts our relationships as well. There's Dr. Raquel Martin. If you ever get a chance to check her out, she's really incredible. And she was talking about in a video with Mark Lamont Hill about how therapy and psychology, life coaching, it isn't meant to alleviate you out of your real experience of life. It's meant to give you tools. It's meant to allow you to navigate these systems to be able to overcome them. And within my work, that means being able to bring in this kind of socialized, communal experience within the Black community into the narrative as we begin to figure out how do we direct ourselves in our relationships. I hope that makes sense. But I'm gonna dive into that in this video. I know that's a little bit long-winded. Forgive me, I'm just getting started with this. But if you can, like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. If you enjoy the video, definitely please leave comments. All those things help. And share them and continue the conversation. One of the things that I recognized from the Pivot podcast video was that they were saying that one of the conversations they really struggled with having with their family was around finances, and being someone within their families who may have grown up in poverty, all of a sudden now coming into a lot of money, all of a sudden they have all these family members asking them for money, asking them for financial support. And one of the brothers talks about how hard it is because he remembers growing up with them. He remembers being in a two-bedroom apartment and there's 5 to 7 family members all living in there, trying to make it. And then he makes it to a place of economic stability, economic success, and then he's struggling with everyone asking for a handout. And one of the things that I try to reframe in those moments is, one, to empathize with our family, to empathize with what it means to live your life in such economic stress where you never feel the stability, you never feel the freedom, you never feel the rest in your life to be able to breathe and feel like you're okay, to feel like you're secure. And it doesn't excuse the dynamic. It doesn't dismiss feeling sometimes taken advantage of, or feeling like you're constantly being asked something of and pulling from you. Uh, but what it does do is it gives context that your family, yourself, have experienced the social, political, economic impacts of poverty, of systems that have intentionally ensured that Black community members, for the most part, don't have access to resources, don't have the ability to get small business loans, don't have the education within their public schools to understand how to navigate finances. And even when they do, they end up having to deal with things like redlining and gentrification, and they deal with the prejudice and discrimination. All these things create barriers to economic access. And so the impact of that on your mental, on your emotional, relational well-being is tremendous. And many times those of us who make it out of that environment carry a lot of the weight. We carry a lot of the weight of desiring to help, but sometimes not knowing how. And one of the tools that I thought to myself was, man, I wish there was someone who can support these brothers with understanding community economics. And I wanted to bring this up because I think it's a really powerful uh, resource for our community. I want to get the official name for it. As it's okay, so it's under the umbrella of cooperative economics. Cooperative economics. If you're familiar with Black history, cooperative economics was fundamentally at our foundation. Coming out of enslavement, coming through Jim Crow, we understood how to work together, to utilize our resources collectively to be able to help us to come out of our situations, to help us to reach opportunities for access. So, in other words, how they were able to, let's say, if they were still in slavery and one of them got their freedom. Well, what they would do is they would work to help buy one other person's freedom, and then they would work together to be able to buy another person's freedom. And then when they bought their family's freedom, then they would all work together to be able to buy a piece of land. And then after buying a piece of land, then they would all bring their economics together to be able to start a business. Right. And because you had five, six, seven incomes, you had the ability to build wealth faster. You had the ability to elevate yourself economically faster. The challenges many times for us today is that we're not centered in cooperative economics. We're not centered in how to utilize our resources together. We're centered in what we refer to as individualism. And individualism is an outlook that separates us from others, that says, hey, if I take care of myself, then that somehow is helping you. But it's my responsibility to help me, and yours is to help you. I separate myself and focus on myself, and that is how I achieve access or opportunity. Now, the reason why this is not a sustainable model for our community is because even when we do gain access to opportunities, we are still undermined under the same umbrella of racism and economic oppression. Now, the reason why this is important is because we're still human beings. We still love our families. We still long for them to come up out of their situations. We still have a heart for them struggling. We still see the old neighborhood and it's being run down. We see the schools that we used to go to, and we see our friends from the neighborhood and they're struggling, and there's this desire to help, but we don't know how. Cooperative economics is a great place to start. There's a lot of books out there that I'll probably try to leave in the description box, at least one or two. But just understanding the principle and the concept can help you to begin to reconnect yourself to these relationships, not seeing them as a danger or a threat to your ability to come up out of this situation or to find the stability that you're desiring, but as a ways to work together, not just giving and not receiving, but being intentional, right? Some of the simple steps is, I know a lot of us, might go to church and you give a 10% of your income to a tithes or offering. Another thought might be to say, hey, you know what? Instead of giving 10% to a church to take care of others who are in need, maybe I take that same 10% and put it in an account so that my family members, when they need help, I automatically have something to draw from. Maybe I start pinpointing those within my family relationships who actually seem poised or ready to be able to work collaboratively together. So I have some, kind of slush fund, side fund to be able to help when people ask so it doesn't feel like it's taking from my necessities. But then I'm also looking to intentionally invest in my family. Those who are already working jobs, those who are already going to school, right? Those who are already looking to start businesses, who have already started the business, right? How do I take from intentional finances put to the side that I can invest in my family, right? Now, these things are imperative, but they're not easy. They're not easy, but it is a part of our work for healing within our families to figure out how to come together and find healing collectively. Because when we try to find it by ourselves, we find ourselves feeling isolated. We find ourselves apart. We find ourselves in a silo. And as a result, it begins to weigh on us. It begins to bring about feelings of abandonment and loneliness and a bit of despair that can manifest in depression or anxiety and things of that nature. And so, understanding our interconnectedness with one another is a fundamental principle in how we actually find the health and the well being and the healing that we're desiring. Cooperative economics is a great place to start, especially if you feel the burden of trying to support your family, trying to help your family come up out of poverty. Remember, this system that's been oppressing our community has been around for 400 years, 500 years almost. It didn't just get here overnight. It's not a system that's easily dismantled or overcome. But looking back into our history and understanding how our ancestors were able to come up out of it, that is a primary tool in which we can find empowerment and find the support that we need to be able to elevate ourselves and our families. I hope this helps a little bit. Um, Forgive me if it felt a little bit disjointed, but I would love to hear your thoughts, ideas about this, and continue the conversation. Definitely remember to like and subscribe, and leave some comments after it posts. With that, I'll talk with you all next time.